Born and raised.
Yeah.
Wow. Being from Southwest Atlanta means excellence to me. It means prominence. I grew up in a neighborhood where there were lawyers, there were doctors, there were people who integrated universities, you know, there were mayors, there were people who owned funeral homes. It was a thriving neighborhood, and it felt good to be from Southwest Atlanta. To me, it felt like there was Buckhead and then there was Southwest Atlanta, because it was such a community. And we knew everyone in the community. We knew who lived down the street. We knew who lived 2 streets over. We played with their children. We communed. We ate together. And it just felt like Black excellence, to be honest with you, and family. It influenced me tremendously. The mentorship, I think, in Southwest Atlanta for male and females was thriving. It's something that I don't see now. But then men and the young boys had men to look up to, men who were actually doing things, who were judges, who were city councilmen. And so seeing men and women being entrepreneurs, starting their own businesses, running in the city government, being a part of the local council was something that was motivating. It wasn't that I was like, oh, I'm just gonna be a part of the community by just going to school and just coming home and working. No, you had to do something. You had to participate and be a part of the community. And so that led me to entrepreneurship as well. My father was an entrepreneur. So seeing him doing his thing, growing up next door to Miss Ransom, growing next door up to all these businesses was something that showed me it's possible. And it's possible to thrive in it. And so I didn't start off as an entrepreneur. I started off as following in my mom's footsteps as a teacher. But that bug was still in me. It was like a little fire. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure, but I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own business. And now I am one. Now I've started my own business. It's thriving in the city of Atlanta. It feels good. It feels excellent. And I feel like I'm following in the footsteps of the mentors and mentees that were around me that I grew up seeing. I think it's known, honestly, I think it's known as a place of upper middle class, of a place where excellence is and where there's a thriving neighborhood. You see so many people who are high up in authority that live in Southwest Atlanta. I don't know how many mayors I can count that live in Southwest Atlanta. Hank Aaron, it's so many prominent Black Atlantans that live in Southwest Atlanta. And when you drive through, it's a beautiful neighborhood. The houses are gorgeous. The businesses are gorgeous. It's well kept. And so I definitely think that commerce and business are motivating people to move here. I don't know if we want to get into gentrification, but I do see a lot of that happening too. And I'm not sure if it's Southwest Atlanta is the lure of what's happening here, because things are changing in the city. I'm still in the area and I've seen so much change, not to the point where it's unrecognizable, but to the point where it's like, oh, okay, well that used to be this, now it's turning into this. That's interesting. Okay, well that used to be a little store we used to go to and get VHS videotapes, and now it's turning into the Atlanta studio. Okay, but I definitely think the culture of Southwest Atlanta has been known for excellence and has been known for a place where you do want to live. It's safe, it feels comfortable, and when you look around, it feels good. I really agree with your mission to elevate. I feel like Southwest Atlanta, and I think elevate kind of gives it a term that maybe it needs more. Maybe it needs to go back to the heyday of the thriving part of Southwest Atlanta. But when I think of the future of Southwest Atlanta, I definitely feel like it should come to where I grew up in the 80s, where we were able to walk from street to street, visiting our neighbors. We were able to go to local businesses. We were able to support the businesses that are in the community and keep the community going and sustain the local economy and thrive as a people, from up to Niskey Lake all the way down to where we are now on Northside Drive. It's still Southwest Atlanta. And when I drive through the city, I see so many businesses and so many people here, and it still feels good. And so I think the future of it is the same as it should have been, is let's get these businesses going. Let's continue to show that this is an area where culture thrives. I think a lot of culture came out of Southwest Atlanta. You have music groups that came out of Southwest Atlanta. You have so many entertainers that came out of Southwest Atlanta. And I think it really does set the tone and the culture for Atlanta. New areas have come about, and hearing those around the city like East Atlanta and Kirkland, yeah, we heard them back in the day. But Southwest Atlanta was what you knew. You knew S.W.A.T.S. You knew, and Goody Mob came up with the term Southwest Atlanta Too Strong. And that meant to me community. It meant that we stuck together. It meant that when things went down in the community, we had community meetings. We were meeting at people's houses to discuss whether or not we want a Family Dollar in the neighborhood, whether or not we want the Walmart to come to Southwest Atlanta or not. And we went to our local government and discussed it and did what we had to do to keep the city thriving and keep that area of Atlanta what it is. Now, growing up, most of the students and most of the children that we went to, we were in the M2M program. And that was something new in Atlanta. So we did attend school that was outside of our city limits, but it was a program that was for the Southwest Atlanta. And it was an excellent program. So we did go to school in Buckhead, and we did go to school at Sarah Smith and North Atlanta High School. And those, when we came back to the community, it was still love. And so it was a blackness that we felt throughout the community that felt good. And when you see your pediatrician up the street, it felt good. When you saw the lawyer that you knew, Marvin Arrington, when you see these people in your community, you know them personally, that felt good. To see the city change so much, where to the point we're getting notices on doors. My mom is getting a notice on her door telling her to sell her home so that people can come buy it. And we're getting people literally knocking on her door who aren't black, who are saying, we'll buy your home for this amount of money. And yes, it used to be a neighborhood where there were a lot of white people. And once we started moving in, because we were so prominent, then they left and they moved to Buckhead, and that was fine. We were okay with that. There was no issue. We never had an issue with that. But to see it change so much to the point where the stores that we used to visit and the businesses that used to be there are changing to coffee shops and are changing to, I guess, more millennial, modern day things. And we're seeing people walking around with strollers and babies, and they don't look like me. It does concern me a little bit. It does make me wonder, well, what's happening to the culture of Southwest Atlanta? Are we still going to have that culture that is known for Black excellence? It's going to be known for Black professionalism. That's what it's known for. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it. I lived there. I saw it. And so to see it change so much is a little disheartening. Even going through Beecher and seeing so many houses for sale and not seeing Black people in those homes is a little concerning. It makes me wonder what the culture of Southwest Atlanta is going to be like in the future. Is it still going to be what it was? Or now are we just a mix of it's just Atlanta now? I would really want to preserve that. I really want to preserve the culture of Southwest Atlanta and keep it what it was and let the people know who are moving in. Yes, we come, but know where you are. Know the history of this area of Atlanta. Know where these businesses came from. Know who the mayors were that lived here, and let's all work together and respect it. I think it becomes a problem when gentrification starts to change the neighborhood, where the businesses are leaving, Black businesses are gone, and now I'm going next door and I don't see the camaraderie that I used to see. It's more so like, oh, well, did you know what this used to be? This was a store by my grandfather he owned this place, and now you just kind of threw in your little coffee shop and we're just kind of here like there was no culture here. There is a culture. So I'm all for working together when we can work together. But when you come in and change the neighborhood and act like there was no culture and act like there was no foundation of excellence and there was no foundation of growth, that's when I have a problem with what's happening. And I'm kind of seeing that going down Cascade a little bit, where the signs are saying, yes, come join us, but it doesn't look like come join us, because across the street, the beautiful restaurant is still here. And do you know about the beautiful restaurant, or are you just going to put your business here and just hope to increase your economic value? So I do feel like if Southwest Atlanta can just hold firm to the culture of what it's always been from the 70s to the 80s through the 90s up until now, I think we'll be fine. But once that face of Southwest Atlanta starts changing, that's when I get concerned. And I'm kind of starting to see that a little bit. I definitely feel like there is a way to coexist, of course. And I think it was kind of what I touched on, just really overstanding and understanding the culture of the S.W.A.T.s. It's not just a place in Atlanta. It is really a hub of excellence. If you just we can just make a list of how many people have come out of Southwest Atlanta and have lived there and have made a home there. I mean, when you drive from one end of Cascade to the other end of Cascade, you can clearly see the difference in prominence and what is happening. And it was a Black excellence. And so I feel like if people are going to come into the neighborhood, and if we're selling homes, and these are grandparents at this point, great grandparents in some aspects, who are still living there, if we're selling homes, I just feel like if you're coming into the community, please try to understand the community. Come to the community meetings. Don't try to take over the meeting and be a leader and come with your ideas of what you want the community. Listen to the community first. Come in and respect the history of Southwest Atlanta. Really know the history of Southwest Atlanta. Don't just look at it as like, this is where I live, I got a great house, this is a nice neighborhood, and it's safe. Okay, we're gonna stay here. But really understand where you are. Know who's across the street from you, because I'm sure that is someone's, city council member's son or a judge's daughter that you're living across the street from, or it used to be, that's the house you bought it from. So I feel like if we're going to coexist, it should definitely be conversations about how can we work together so that the face of the S.W.A.T.s does not change, so that the culture of the S.W.A.T.s does not change, and that we continue to keep and elevate Southwest Atlanta, because it is a place where I am so proud to be from. I love telling people I'm from Southwest Atlanta. Even when I was over in Buckhead schools, I'm like, no, I'm from Southwest Atlanta. Like, come to my neighborhood, come see where I live. I was never ashamed of where I lived. I was very proud. I was proud of who I lived next door to. I was proud who I lived across the street from. I was proud to say, oh no, they see that mortuary right on MLK? That's their house. They live right here. And so I feel like if you're going to come into neighborhoods and you're going to live there, and I'm sure there's no ulterior motive of, oh, we're going to change the face of Southwest. That's not the goal, and I understand that. However, it is changing the face of Southwest Atlanta. So I feel like having those meetings and being active to say, well, yes, this is our community. Let's talk about how we can all coexist. What would you like to see here? What would you like to do here? How can we continue to elevate Southwest Atlanta together? And not so much as, oh, you come in and you just put your business here and we're just looking like, oh, what is that? And no one's saying anything. Let's communicate. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it can be for our children. Let's talk about some daycares. You want to open a school? They're independent schools in Southwest Atlanta. They're home schools in Southwest Atlanta. Do you want your children to go there? Or do you just live here and you don't want to be a part of the community? I think those conversations definitely need to be had.